Hi everyone and welcome to our Bestmed Wellness Podcast. Today we've got the esteemed pleasure of sitting down here with Theo Bierman. Theo is recognized as one of South Africa's leading endurance athletes, known for his elite performances across triathlons, ultra endurance cycling, and multi-day events. So Theo's done multiple Ironman competitions, ultra triathlon events, and he's also a motivational speaker, and he's been featured in Listen to God's Voice in My Life, a book that was also it's a motivational book. It was written by Karin Basson. Theo, thank you so much for joining us today. Theo, just for the listeners who may not know your full story, who are you and how did endurance sport become such a central part in your life?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the consideration and the time to showcase, all that has happened in my life. So, as I sit here in front of you, I am an amateur age grouper because of my age. I've found my way into the wonderful world of endurance sports by way of necessity and survival, to be honest. So my story...
If you know, say age group, what age group is that?
Well, right now, I'm 47 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I'm getting towards 50 years old, But when I started this journey, I started the whole endurance sport journey in 2015-16. My wife and I had, and my kids and our dogs had immigrated to the UK, and we came back the same year. It didn't work out, the immigration thing. But be that as it may, during that time, I needed a way to find better things to do. So leading up until that point, around about 2015-16, I had been clean from drug addiction for, about 6-7 years. As I stand in front of you right now, as I sit in front of you right now, I have been clean from drug addiction for 12 years. And next month next month, more or less to the day, I'll have been clean for about 12 years.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Which is, by the grace of God, I'm recovering every single day, So I found endurance sports and Ironman throughout my recovery. For the first 6 years or the first 5 years, I was kind of like laying low and just trying to breathe in this new world where I wasn't reaching for substances to literally self-medicate myself. And now that I had been looking at life through a different lens, at different eyes, I was able to really reach down and find something different to keep me going and spend my time, apart from obviously spending time with my family and rebuilding my life. So I started running, started cycling, started swimming, and...
Is this now all after your addiction?
Yeah. So
at the end of it.
I'll tell you quite a graphic story, if I may. Mm-hmm. It's part of where things are. So I went into rehab in January 2014. And, my wife was pregnant with our second child, 8 months into the pregnancy, and we had a 1-year-old baby. And that's the time I got taken into rehab. So timing was terrible, but it couldn't have been better because that day marked the start of my new life. And the backstory is a long story. What matters most is that I had decided to clean up my act and do the right thing, you know what I mean? And get clean in my heart and my head and my soul. I'm a reborn Christian. I've completely gone in with my faith towards Jesus, and things are much, much better. But that day going into rehab, I was looking at my wife and our children, through the back end of the rearview car mirror, the window, watching my family as I was being driven away. Fast forward a couple of years later, we decided to immigrate and went to the UK. We decided this was a bad idea. We missed home too much. And I drove my wife and our kids to the airport at Heathrow, and I was saying goodbye to them because I had to stay to settle up, restart the life in reverse back home, support them, finish up what I was doing here. I was working on an awesome contract overseas. And when I was saying goodbye to them at the airport, it reminded me of when I was saying goodbye to them getting driven to rehab. But now the stakes were different. Everything was different. I was clean. I was recovering. I was doing all the right things. So I was going to follow them home, obviously, but I couldn't go that same day. And that day I went home and I signed up for my first Ironman.
Sure.
That very day.
And that was now in
2015 or 16, 2016. Yeah, sometime middle of 2016. And the rest is history. Since then I've done multiple events around the country and in the UK. I have, but okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
I got into coaching because, in recovery, when you do your step work, you find a new way to give back. It's not about you anymore. It's about giving back to communities, giving back to people that need to find a better way to live. So I found purpose in that coaching mentality. And then I signed up as a coach, got certified as a coach, started my own coaching practice. And,
because let's just delve into that. South Africa is they've got a very strong endurance culture. So how did growing up and training here shape you as an athlete? Now, the question is why specifically, Ironman, why endurance sports? Why were you leaning towards that as opposed to now becoming a top rugby player or athlete or in another sporting code maybe?
So, my sporting experience in life, in school and thereafter, I've always been athletic.
Okay.
In my choice of sport. I suppose from a body type point of view, I'm definitely not a rugby player. I would love to have been a rugby player, but I love running, I love cycling, and I love swimming separately.
Okay.
But why Ironman? Why ultra? Why not a little sprint distance triathlon? Why not a little 10K run? I'm a recovered drug addict. That is who I am. First and foremost, before I can be a father, a brother, a coach, a husband, all the hats that I wear, I have to be a successfully recovered drug addict. So we are extremists. I don't know anything in between. It's either all or it's nothing.
Yeah.
So it's in my old nature to self-destruct. Now I'm taking that self-destruction desire and turning it into something where I can, in inverted commas, self-destruct, but in a long course triathlon, a long course comrade style distance running,
Yeah, and we'll delve in later into that. But I think it's also obviously it's a mental fight within yourself because now it's like, it's you versus you at the end of the day.
Look, statistically, I shouldn't be here, to be honest. I shouldn't be here. But I am here by the grace of God. I'm recovering, and I do feel, because I have battled this disease of addiction and come out on the other side successfully recovering every day, I'm able to take that mental ability and turn it to good. Use it for something amazing, like finishing a race, finishing 2 races back to back. We'll get into that now.
Yeah.
And also use the same mentality for the people that I help coach, because I'm coaching many people from different walks of life, across different spectrums of different race destinations and demands. And I can draw on the success of going through recovery in the NA program and help people fight that mental battle over and above the physical battle, because it's two running parallel.
Let's delve into that quickly there. So, you've done some of the hardest events that you've ever done. So physically and mentally. Let me rather rephrase that question. So, what has been the hardest events you've ever done, physically and mentally, and why?
So, 2022 was a big year for me. It was a big year. In April that year, I did the Ironman African Championship. It's the full Ironman event out in Port Elizabeth in April. And then,
so let's just go into the specifics. What does that all entail for the lackeys?
That's the longest Ironman triathlon event that you can get. It's a 3.8 kilometer swim in the ocean, followed by a 180 kilometer cycle.
180 kilometers.
180 kilometers. And then followed immediately by a full marathon, which is 42 kilometer run. Yeah. All in one go. And it takes a lot of preparation, months and months of prep. And I love it. I love doing it. I love the feeling that you get when you're out there. For me, training and racing, even at amateur level, is my worship. It is how I give back, how I glorify God's name, because I shouldn't be here. I could have been somewhere else in bad places, but I'm not, So when I train and when I do these things, I don't do it for myself. I do it for God, because things could be very, very different. But at the end of that year, so in parallel to all that's going on in my life, I also co-run a charity company called the Page Project. And it's me and 3 friends. We help children that live with cerebral palsy. We've got family members that suffer from cerebral palsy. And we've been going for well over a decade now. We would piggyback off the 94.7 Cycle Challenge. We do a number of golf days, comedy events, music festivals, and piggyback off endurance sporting events to raise money to help and support outreach programs in the rural areas of South Africa. We later on evolved to doing the work ourselves. So we would go into a rural area. We'll take a wheelchair, a donated wheelchair, and we'll go find a child that has cerebral palsy, and we will custom fit this wheelchair according to that child's specification. So now this child can now sit straight in a chair. His or her spine is growing straight. It's not perfect, but it's a million times better than what they were being left on a shack on a pallet, left for whatever, left for the rats, to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
So we've been doing it for a long time. That's what we do. And, this is now 2 years after COVID, or 2 years, I suppose, into COVID. And you can imagine people can't even support themselves financially. Who's going to support a charity company? And we rely on donations from people to go do the work that we need. So I went out into the cradle and I did a charity drive with my team, and I did 2 full back-to-back Ironman distance events, one day after the other. So I think it was the 17th or 18th of November. It was a Friday. I did a full Ironman, 3.8 kilometer swim in the Cradle Moon Lake, followed by a 180 kilometer cycle in the Cradle area, followed by a full marathon run.
42 Ks.
Went to bed that night, woke up the next morning, and did it all over again.
But what did you do for recovery? Like, in terms of just, obviously you had to probably maybe, I don't know, cargo load again and do an ice bath. And
I didn't actually do an ice bath. My recovery was getting to bed as soon as possible. So I had a very strict eating regime for day 1 and for day 2. And in actual fact, leading up until that day, I had just come off the back of a 3-year plant-based eating regime. I wasn't eating meat for 3 years. I had an idea. A lot of guys out there were boasting about the efficiencies of having a plant-based diet to help with your endurance efforts. And I tried it, and I got stuck in it for 3 years. So that was my foundation going into this. Funny story, at the end of the 2 days, I stopped and I went back to eating meat because I decided I'm never going to do this again. I missed eating a buri so much. But anyway, be that as it may, the recovery, after day 1, I ate, I slept. And there wasn't much else I could do from a recovery point of view because I needed to sleep. I needed to get as much hours because, Ironman training, you've got swimming, you've got cycling, you've got running, 3 disciplines. What about strength training? 4 disciplines. What about nutrition? 5 disciplines. What about rest? 6 disciplines. What about sleep? 7 disciplines. They don't stop. So I had a very specific training program for the back-to-back. I would train back-to-back 150K cycles. I would train back-to-back 30K runs. I would train back-to-back 4K swims at the gym or in the lake. So my training program was very considered towards being able to do a back-to-back event like that. But I couldn't do all the distances leading up to it because I had to recover. My body had to relax and rest. So I put an over-exaggerated emphasis on strength training more than anything else, because I wanted to make sure that my body on day 2 was strong and mobile.
So leading up to
it, yeah, I dialed on strength training. So like I was training nonstop, I was very not present with my family because the training demands for this were insane. And it was only 2 days, I mean, there's a guy in the US that did 100 in a row. So I understand the demands that it takes to be able to do this consecutively. Look, fitness is fine because if you do one full Ironman, your fitness has gone through the roof just by doing the race itself. But now your fatigue has gone also through the roof. So how do you get your fatigue down so that you can kind of excel a bit better on day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5? You've got to rest. I can eat all the food in the world. I can have all the right hydration strategies in place from an electrolyte point of view. But at the end of the day, I had to sleep. And that was my plan. But yeah, to answer your question, the hardest thing I've ever done was a back-to-back full distance Ironman, one day after the other.
I think that's amazing. I think, obviously a lot of us will never, ever experience that, but that phenomenal feat, definitely. So just how has your definition of success changed from early in your career to now?
If you had asked me 6-7 years ago, my answer would have been very different to what it is now, because of this whole process that I've gone through, becoming a coach, creating my own coaching style of helping athletes cross the finish line in various shapes and forms. I've had to draw upon how I did stuff, how I was able to excel. And, it's like any training program. You've got to look at the data. There's data that the athlete puts into the program. There's data that I put into the program. And you've got to analyze that data and pivot accordingly. So success for me back in the day would have been, I want to finish the race, but I want to finish strong. I want a podium. I want to get top place in my age group. I want. The problem with that for me, and I only realized that later on in life, having matured and evolved in the reborn Christian that I am, is that was a very pride-filled success criteria, because it's all about me. You ask me now, I don't think it's about finishing the race. I think it's about accepting the change that will happen, whether you like it or not, the change that happens throughout the journey of training. And your training could be a 10-week training block, a 20-week training block, a 6-month training block. There's change that happens. There's good change and there's bad change. So the success for me is that, how am I impacting people around me throughout my change that I'm going through? Am I impacting people, my wife, my children, the people that I coach, the people I work with, my friends, my neighbors, my colleagues, everyone? Am I impacting them accordingly, positively or negatively? And if there's negative feedback, can I accept that? And when I accept the negative feedback, for me, that's success. Because this is a very selfish sport. It's a lonely, selfish sport. It's enriching, it's fulfilling, it's amazing. But it is all about me. And as a recovering drug addict, I had to learn throughout my recovery that it ain't about Theo anymore. It's not about me. It's about the glory of God that helped me recover. And through that awareness, I can give back better. And that is success for me.
Yeah, that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Excellent. That actually leads me to my next question here. So, people just often see the race day, but not the years of preparation. So what does the consistency actually look like in your training life? Because as you always see these images, people always just see you on the podium, or you did this and what, but yeah.
No one sees the blood, sweat and tears that go into it. No one sees the failure. You are never going to succeed in anything in life unless you honor and embrace failure through your training. And that happens in the dark. That happens behind the scenes. That happens behind closed doors, Like, often I would go and do a 4 to 5 hour indoor cycle in my garage on Zwift on my indoor trainer, instead of going out into the cradle and smashing 5 hours, just because I wanted to be alone without any external influence, to make sure that I'm training and I'm dialing in exactly what I need to do when I need to do it. There's so much growth and and progress that happens when you're on your own, because there's no one watching you to be like, selfies, social media, people giving you high fives. That's cool, and it gives you some form of motivation. But when you are behind closed doors, are you actually putting in as much hard work on your own and grinding and pulling hard, uncomfortable faces on your own like you are when people are watching you? Because if you're not, then there's something wrong. There has to be a balance between the two. So I believe wholeheartedly, for me, my sweet spot is everything that happens behind a closed door. Figuratively speaking.
Sure.
And literally, I suppose.
Yeah. So how do you balance pushing your limits and avoiding burnout and injury? How do you balance that? You've mentioned now sleep, obviously very important and all of that, but yeah, how do you balance all of that?
Pushing limits and avoiding burnout. If I had to choose between, because everyone wants to push their limits, everyone wants to know what you're made of course. It's in our, I suppose, prideful nature as people, But if I had to choose between one or the other, I would choose to avoid injury. I would choose to avoid burnout, because if I am not avoiding burnout and injury, I'm not going to push those limits. So this is first, this is second. And it's not a balance. It's like this. It's a long and steady, slow race towards pushing your limits. And everyone's version of pushing limits is different. I did 2 back-to-back full distance Ironman, for charity. And that was my version of pushing limits. But other people's limits might be just a 10K run. That doesn't mean to say that mine's more hardcore than theirs. Their dynamic to get to their 10K output would be, it's hard for them based on where they come from, So everyone's training program is different. Everyone's approach to the end goal is different. Avoiding burnout and avoiding injury will get this end goal quicker than being like, okay, I'm just going to ignore this injury right now and I'm going to keep pushing. You can try. I've seen it. I've done it myself. And this goal just gets pushed out more and more and more.
So true. Yeah. So true, definitely.
And that goes for not just sport.
Yeah.
It goes with our relationships with our spouses, our partners, our children, family, work commitments, work challenges, anything in life. It's exactly the same. Avoid that burnout. Take it slow and you'll get your goal.
So let's just quickly delve here into a bit more specifics here. What role does the basics like sleep, nutrition, recovery play in your performance preparing, in training volume? So what are those components, how do you sort of break it up, percentage this, wise, and all of that? And
so let's take a full Ironman training program into consideration. The guys are training for 20 weeks, and each 3 to 4 week period builds. There's progressive overload and progressive overload and progressive overload. But as you go to your overload sections or seasons, you have to institute rest and recovery. Otherwise, your foundation is weak. And this is what I mean about taking it slowly. Slow and steady wins the race. I know that's kind of counterintuitive. If you want a podium and get to world champs, you need to push and hit those intensities that your coach sets for you. But rest and recovery is paramount. It's paramount. These guys are smashing out 7 days of training a week. I always put in a rest day for myself and for my athletes. Always. There's a counter view to that, in that people have commitments in life and things that happen in life that you can't bank on. Work, getting sick, family commitments, whatever. And by default, that gives you the rest that you need and not the rest day. But you can't bank on that. I like structure. I like form. Having a day, a set day, that is your rest day. We can design the whole week around that day and make sure on that day you are resting and you are eating. Hydration is important. Fueling is important. Eating like you are racing is important. Not trying anything new on race day is important. And we've all fallen into that trap. I fall into that trap countless times myself. I see people reaching for new things on race day. Don't. Your stomach is not going to cope. You've got to train all parts of your body, your physicality, your mental ability, your stomach and your gut. Oh my goodness, they can make or break your race and your training program. So rest and recovery is paramount throughout the training block, no matter how long it is.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I see so many people make that mistake. Try new shoes on race day.
No, it's not going to happen.
It's too late.
That's too late. You're
Yeah.
at home. And that's back to pride. People want to look flashy. And I get it. I understand that. You got a new pair of running shoes. I love new shoe day. I love it. I parade around like a peacock because I just love my shoes. I love what it brings to me and how it allows me to run better and faster and more comfortable. But there's so many things that people and athletes don't look at. The smaller things like that can impact race day. So how important is the finish line to you? How important is it really? Because you are jeopardizing the end goal by not listening to your coach, following the program, and doing the things that you need to do.
Yeah. So let's just quickly delve into your mental toughness, your resilience. So you've mentioned that previously there was a moment where or some days where you go into your garage, you go and, grind it out there on the bike there for like a few hours and stuff. So when things go dark during these events, what do you tell yourself to keep going? How do you?
My secret weapon is gratitude. The darkness comes when you are training, either when you are on the road cycling or on an indoor trainer or running or on race day. Those walls come and they come hard. And you've got to be ready to embrace those walls. And when they come, find gratitude towards the pain. I invite the pain and I'm grateful for the pain, because if I'm not experiencing pain and a hard place, then I'm not in the moment. Then where am I? Where else could I be? I could have been somewhere else, quite frankly, and sorry to get all graphic. I could have been lying in a gutter with a needle in my arm. I never saw that happening, but who knows? That could have been me. So gratitude is it's scripturally sound. Jesus encourages us to find gratitude in all the things we do all day long. Grateful for being able to run. I've got 2 legs, I've got 2 feet, I've got 2 arms, I've got a full working body. These kids that we help in the rural areas of Gauteng, they lying skew like this, and this is them. Like I'm moaning about hitting a brick wall. They will never, they can't even sit up. So what am I moaning about? That is a reflective moment that pulls me through the darkness.
And obviously,
Perspective.
Perspective, 100%. I think a lot of people obviously forget that to be grateful for things.
For sure.
And just forget there's always someone worse off than you.
Yeah.
So, definitely. So, how do you train your mind from suffering, or can it only be learned through experience? Bit of a different question.
No, but it's a good question. So, you can train your mind through experience. You can leave experience to train your mind, or you can train your mind and still go through the training program that you need to, and kind of give your mental training a boost. So if I don't take my mental training into account, like things like visualization, I'm huge on visualization, and everyone's version of visualization is different. I visualize when I'm swimming. I have a Hollywood brain. I'm very figurative in my mind. And I love existing there because it gives me so much ability to create a figurative space to exist in while I'm training. It's awesome. So I visualize while I'm swimming, while I'm cycling, while I'm running, even while I'm doing nothing, I visualize. And that helps I pre-frame my mind of how I want it to act and be on race day when I need to do the thing. So people can do that, or you can leave it to experience, the experience of training every day, getting it right or getting it wrong, going into race day, getting it right or getting it wrong, and rinsing and repeating. Yeah, you'll build your mental capacity. You will build it. But why not give it some oomph? Why not amplify that mental ability by really being considered about what you put into your brain, and not binge watching on Netflix after your training session and putting something healthy into your mind, watching something motivational, an awesome podcast, a meaningful conversation, checking in with your coach, checking in with your partner, your parents, your children. How am I doing? How am I showing up?
So let's just quickly delve into the visualization. What do you normally visualize? Do you stop yourself from visualizing something negative, or do you sort of, you visualize, you say, a victory or something that's happening positive, or do you visualize, the whole race, or what do you?
I visualize starting right. But when I say starting right, I don't mean starting strong, starting right. So that means going into the event that I'm doing, knowing full well that what I have done behind me in the training block, it's done. I can't bring any negative baggage to that moment thinking, I didn't finish that training session. That week was terrible, or I didn't eat well. I haven't slept well. You're on the start line. You're there, baby. And it's time to perform. So I visualize making sure that when I get to that moment, I am okay with the effort I've put in. And time will tell at the end of the race. Time will tell. Did I put in the effort? How did I do? Check in with the coach. What were the goals? Did you meet your objectives? If no, if not, pivot accordingly, and reload and try again, kind of thing. But I make sure that when I enter a moment, and it's not just racing, like I visualize making sure that when I arrive in a moment, I am okay with the preparation that I've put in. Because right now, I'm all about enjoying the gift of and the privilege of being able to do this. And it goes back to gratitude. So I give thanks all day, every single day, even when I'm visualizing. I give thanks while I'm visualizing what's happening from start to finish. It's such a powerful tool, and it does actually take time and practice, as much as it takes to build your body to a point where you can do this crazy distance that we do, regardless of the race. Building your mental ability, it takes time, but when you get it right and you're visualizing the right way, that amplifies you in the moment. Then you know where you can go back in your mind to move forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you look, failures are inevitable in endurance sport. So can you just share some setbacks that you've had, what it's taught you, and how you sort of get through it?
I've had a year this year like I've never had before. So it's now December. Oh, it's Christmas Eve. April this year, an injury that I was nursing for the last 2 years presented itself with so much pain and agony that I didn't know was about to happen, because I wasn't aware of this injury that I had had. Maybe it's from the back-to-back that I did. Who knows? So, kind of very long story short, I've been this year going through a series of different sports medical specialists. I have a damaged tendon in my hip, behind my hip bone, that needed to heal, and it wasn't healing because of the location of this tendon. It doesn't get circulation. And as a result, it was causing a sciatic flare-up down my entire leg that landed me up in hospital here at For Life, because I just couldn't bear the pain. It's a short version of a much longer story, and I have not been able to fix it up until literally the last couple of weeks. I'm now on a program, a regime, but it's weird how things work out, because it presented itself in April this year. And April this year, I was about to embark upon my next endurance event. So I wanted to go and do a triathlon multi-day staged event, but around South Africa, traveling through all 9 provinces of South Africa, doing a multi-day staged Ironman, half Ironman, full Ironman, a duathlon, just running with some rest and recovery in between, obviously. And it's something I've had on the cards since this book came out, but things come up, life comes up, and this year was my year. I was training hard towards it, and we were putting things in place to get going, and then this hip was like, I've got different plans for you, So the point I'm trying to make is, how did I handle that? If your body says no, the answer is no. And I had pushed here and there because I wasn't sure, how bad is this injury really? Because the pain comes and it goes, and it comes and it goes. And then it came and it stayed. And that was me for the last 7 to 8 months of this year, in ridiculous amounts of pain. So I'm listening to my body now. I'm relaxing, I'm seeing all the specialists, I'm doing the things that I need to do. And I have to practice what I preach to my athletes. I can't tell them to go and do this and then I go
I
back.
think the lesson is always, you would take one step forward, but you take 2 steps back. And that's the main lesson.
Absolutely.
And I've seen it so many times. I myself also, I go and try and push. You've got this little niggle, but at the end of the day, it's just delaying everything.
Just relax.
Yeah.
Next year will come. Or the following year, there's time.
So, just for the people listening to this podcast, I don't want to miss all the information and knowledge that you've got. So, I think let's just quickly summarize the training that goes into your sports that you're doing. I know obviously that's a whole complete different podcast and stuff, but if you could just summarize.
Yeah.
You're training 6 days a week or 7 days a week. That's what you do. In the mornings, most endurance athletes, they do so many kilometers cycling, so many swimming, or what? What does it entail?
So I'll give you a good example because I'm actually now back into a full Ironman training regime for next year. So Monday will look like 45 minutes to an hour indoor cycle session, either on a watt bike or on the indoor trainer at home, making sure that I'm using watts as a measurement of my progress through the training program for that particular training program, followed by an immediate brick run. So half an hour run, maybe a 40-minute run, but it's running immediately off the bike to mimic what you do on race day. That's Monday. Tuesday will be a 2.5 to 3K swim in the pool at gym, followed by a 50 to 60-minute run, maybe immediately after or towards the end of the day, time permitting.
And sorry, how long's the run?
The run, 50 minutes.
Okay.
So 50 minutes to an hour, and that's nothing breaking barriers. It's just to get myself moving between zone 2 and zone 3. I'm trying to get my aerobic capacity to where it used to be so that I can start pushing the limits with my anaerobic threshold, zone 4 and zone 5, effectively. So I'm building a baseline right now, not really pushing myself too much in each session, but making sure I'm doing the sessions, right? So that's Tuesday. Wednesday, a single bike session or a double bike session, so morning and night. If I don't do the second bike session, then I'll do a strength training session at home. I've got a gym that I've built in my garage.
And what do you normally do with the strength training?
So strength training, I break it up into three movements throughout the day and throughout the week. So day 1 is a push and pull routine. Day 2 is a leg routine, and day 3 is a full body routine.
Okay.
With mobility bundled into it. So.
And it's all multi-joint exercises.
Multi-joint exercises, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the time, I'm lifting weight, I'm lifting heavy, but I'm also making sure that my mobility is right from a stretching point of view, so that when I'm in the pool or my ligaments are needing to bend and move in the right way, that the strength is there. So lifting heavy is not going to do that. Making sure my mobility is in place to help and complement those movements that I need, whether I'm cycling or swimming or running. So that's Wednesday. Thursday will be a run and another strength session. Friday, a swim and a strength session, or I might scrap the swim altogether, depending if I need to relax and rest. Saturday, long ride. Sunday, long run. So that's a 7-day block. So that's kind of contradicting what I'm saying about a rest and recovery, right? But right now, I'm not training for an event per se. I am getting my body ready to turn up the volume next year. So some of those days I won't get to. I know that because I'm busy at home. I've got a family to be present with. But if my body is aching and niggling, and I know what my body, not because of my hip, I know when to listen to my body, I'll put in a rest day when I need to. But effectively, that's 6 to 7 days with mostly cycling, then mostly running, then mostly swimming, and a kind of sprinkling of strength training when I have time.
And then just rep-wise with the strength training, how many reps?
So right now, I'm in a regime where I'm doing five reps, 5 sets when I'm lifting heavier.
And that's what I'm getting to. So you're lifting quite heavy, but a lot less reps than basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, 100%. Okay, no, good. Okay, so just what lessons from endurance have you translated mostly and strongly into your everyday life and work? So what has it sort of taught you?
You don't know what you are capable of if you don't start. And I think people, when they look at things like this, they think, it's impossible. Where do I start? How do I start?
And people set the limits, actually. They're limiting themselves.
For sure. So they're failing themselves before they've even failed. Make the decision, seek information, seek knowledge, ask a question, bring someone into your community. I take it back to this incredible thing that was taught to me by my counselor when I was in recovery. He said to me, Theo, using is me, recovery is we. So when you're in active addiction, you're doing it on your own. I certainly was, and I was self-medicating and fueling the monster within all on my own. But to recover, you don't recover on your own. You recover in a community. You get better when you do it with somebody. Iron sharpens iron. It's biblically sound, So if people want to start, don't start on your own. Get that outside information. Seek knowledge. Find a higher source of authority to help you set the program in place and take it bit by bit. You can't look at a 20-week training block like this and be like, okay, cool, I'm all in. You're not all in. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, all the way to day X, whatever it might be. That's how you set these objectives and these goals in place.
Okay, so a lot of people won't ever do ultra events like you do. So what do you hope people take from your journey?
I would tell people to make perseverance personal. What do I mean by that? So in order for me to have done something like this, and
you're pointing to...
I'm pointing to the book. The book that got me, or I suppose the double full back-to-back full Ironman event that I did. And the next challenge that I want to do. I had to make perseverance personal, because you've got to persevere through your training program or whatever challenge you've set before yourself, right? You've got to persevere through it. But perseverance is very vanilla. It's fluffy. Like, of course I have to persevere, but my version of perseverance is different to everyone else's version of perseverance. So when I say make perseverance personal, how do I unpack that? And what are the things that I did in my training program that got me to achieve something as amazing as doing a full back-to-back full Ironman? I'm saying it wrong. A back-to-back full Ironman, one day after the other, right? So number 1 is faith. My coaching business is called Faith Fueled Endurance. So for me, faith is the most important part of me making perseverance personal. Faith isn't about believing. I don't believe it's about believing. I think faith is about knowing. And when you know, you take action. Faith is taking a step forward and then not seeing the next step in front of you and still taking it. That for me is faith. Number 2 is training hard. Now, obviously, right? Training hard is, again, very fluffy, very high level. For me, coming from step 1, faith, to step 2, faith without works is dead. So I always take it back to a biblical connotation, right? Faith without works is dead. My works has to complement my faith. The things that I do as part of my works must show that I'm a faithful human being in the things that I do and I say that I do. So I'll give you an example. Every day when I wake up in the morning, I give the best, cleanest, and most soberest version of myself to God when I wake up in the morning. If I don't do that, I can't train hard. I have to get 100% success rate every single day. So the first thing I am when I wake up in the morning is a recovering drug addict, successful. The last thing I am is a recovering drug addict. Everything in between is a bonus. An endurance athlete, age grouper, a father, a husband, a friend, a brother, all the hats that I wear. Those are all bonuses. If I don't get this right and that right, the start and the beginning, the start and the end, nothing in the beginning, in the middle is going to be available for me to achieve. So I have to get 100% success rate every day. Then I can train hard. So that's my first fruit offering to God every single day. I'm the harvest. And if I give the best portion of myself every single day, I can train hard. That's number 2. Number 3 is bridging the gap between goals and stretch goals. So when you exist in the world of endurance sports, you have to make ordinary extraordinary. You know what I mean? Well, actually, it's the other way around. You've got to take extraordinary and make it ordinary. So this is a goal, and that's a stretch goal, effectively, from right to left. About 4 to 5 years ago, just before COVID, I was doing some consulting work in the world of personal development for a company called Mastermind.com. It's a company owned and run by Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins. And I was part of this global coaching community where I would help coach their students in programs that they would make available for people around the world. And, you know, when you're part of this American guru personal development style of knowledge and information, you learn tools and you have things that you can make your own. So one of those things is a tool called the power of one. So for me, the power of one, the number one is the most important the most important number in the world. How do I run 10Ks? By running 9Ks. How do you run 9Ks? By running 8Ks. How do you run 8Ks? By running 7. You'll never run a full marathon if you can't run 41Ks. So, and I draw, there's a synonymous parallel that I draw from that with my recovery. I'm recovered one day at a time. I'm clean today because I was clean yesterday. So the power of one is a tool that I pull into bridging goals and stretch goals. Stretch goals are those scary goals that no one wants to look at. So when I'm on board an athletes, we define goals, but we also define stretch goals. Like, what's the goal that scares you the most? Let's give it a name. Let's give it a face. Let's give it a label. Now I can train towards it. Now I can actually make my stretch goal my goal. And when your goal becomes your stretch goal, then it goes up again. It's like this, you see. So it's the power of one incrementally going up and up and up and up and up. So that's step 3. Step 4 is a burning desire. And this is how I'm making perseverance personal for me. This is how I had to go and pack the data and look at how I did all these things and see the validity of the things that I'm saying. You know, is it real? Is it true? So I don't believe that motivation is enough to move the needle. I don't. Like, how many times have you listened to a song and you've been motivated by it? You've watched a podcast, you've been motivated by it. You're saying it's short-lived. It's short-lived.
Yeah.
So motivation is important, and it kickstarts the process, but I don't believe it moves the needle. I believe obsession moves the needle. You've got to be obsessed by the thing. If you can get obsessed by the task, your needle starts going like this.
You're starting to sound like David Goggins.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've read all of his books, and I agree with much of what he says. Yeah, sure. And then the last one, I think it's the most important one. And again, drawing from like very vanilla terminology out there, is defining what your real why is. Not your why, your real why. I believe it's important to have a why that emotionally moves you. So you write out your why, read it back to yourself. Does this emotionally move me? If it doesn't emotionally move you, it's not the real why. Then go back and try again. Like I said earlier, I don't believe your why should be finishing the race. I believe your why should be, who do you become throughout the process and throughout the journey?
As you mentioned.
And are you okay with the changes that come, the good and the bad? That was what the why was for me. So those are my 5 steps that I used to make perseverance personal. And my advice to anyone listening is to go and take the concept of making perseverance personal and working out what it means for you and unpacking it and asking the right questions at the right time and being honest with yourself.
Okay, that's quickly. You mentioned advice. What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, my word.
If you had to go back in your journey now.
There's one thing I would do. I would tell my younger self to reach out and find a mentor. find a mentor. So, drug addiction is a big part of my backstory. It's a big part of my family. Sadly, many people in my family have fallen to the disease of addiction, and a lot of them didn't make it out alive. Like my father is one of them, So I lost my old man when I was a teenager. So I didn't have any, I'm a guy, it's important for a man to have an adult male mentor, I believe, right?
Definitely.
And I didn't have that. I didn't have anything like that. So if I could go backwards in time, I'd say to myself, Theo, go and find a mentor to help you define where you are going and put a plan in place to help you get there. That is why something I didn't mention in the beginning when you started talking. A part of my coaching business, Faith Fueled Endurance, I've launched a program called Fueled for Purpose. And it's a mentorship, it's a Christian mentorship program for young athletes between 14, 15 and just past 20 years old to help them with mental resilience and overcoming setbacks and leveraging Christian concepts to help them guide their careers. Basically, are you who you are if your sport gets taken away? So it's a 12-week program, and I've created that now because I would have loved to have something like that available to me 30 years ago to help define my path going forward. It would have changed a lot. It would have avoided a lot of heartache with my family and my friends. But again, by the grace of God, I'm here. So my advice to anyone is, if you haven't got a mentor, go out and get one.
So what's next for you? Life, your purpose, everything, your sport. What's next?
I very, very, very much am of the opinion that my Around the Country initiative, swimming, cycling and running throughout all provinces of South Africa, is around the corner. My body's getting stronger. I'm listening to my body. I'm doing all the right things. I'm praying into it. I'm listening to God's voice in my life. Excuse the pun with the book. And that'll be the next one. So watch this space. There's the amazing testimony coming.
It's awesome. So just finally, just to sort of wrap up, for someone listening who feels stuck, overwhelmed and doubting themselves, what's the message you want them to hear today?
Do not be scared to be vulnerable with yourself. If you've got a mask on, my wife always spoke to me about, Theo, you've got your mask on again. Which means I go out there and I'm two different people, depending on who I'm around. Whether you're trying to impress someone or you are trying to hide something, we wear masks. So if you are the kind of person who's wearing a mask and you feel like this mask is holding you back, remove the mask, get vulnerable, ask yourself the real questions. Why are you wearing this mask? Unpack that, and once you understand why you're wearing this mask, your life is open. There's no barrier in front of you, and you can achieve crazy challenges. Maybe not a double full back-to-back Ironman, but something different. Something smaller, something more achievable in the short space of time. But if you're wearing a mask and you are aware of that mask, get rid of it.
So we've discussed so many things now. We've chatted about your training routine. We've chatted mentally, all of that. I feel like I don't want to miss anything. Is there any last words maybe that you want to share with our listeners out there? Something just that you feel that we haven't covered? Because I want to obviously give you the platform to just share, your knowledge and all your information and everything.
I have given my life to Jesus. I've gone all in. I have let go of all of my hang-ups, all of my plans to do things that glorify my name. I've cast it aside. I've picked up my cross. I'm following my Creator. I have so much clarity about who I am and where I'm going because my identity is firmly rooted in the resurrected life of Jesus Christ. And I don't want to Bible bash anyone who's listening, but that is my identity. It's not about me anymore. It's about Jesus. It's about what He did for me. I have gone all in with my walk with God. And every single day where I pray to the Holy Spirit and I ask, Holy Spirit, can you partner with me today and show me what I need to do today? Who do I need to speak to? Who do I need to reach out to? How can I change my coaching style? What should I do? He answers my prayers, and together we walk forward and we do amazing things together. So that is who I am right now. That is my identity. And I cannot wait for tomorrow.
Theo Bierman, thank you so much. I think it's obviously very inspirational. I've actually learned a lot, and obviously just it reiterates how important visualization is, how important gratitude is, and just the way that you see your life journey. And I'm looking forward to you also, obviously, with everything that you're going to do now. As you said, keep an eye on it. There's still a big and huge future for you ahead. And I only wish you the best. So thank you so much for sitting with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been amazing. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Awesome.